Okay, we're recording. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our call. Tonight is Wednesday, October 10th. I'm Danielle Pfeiffer, and I'm excited to get us going with our empowerment call tonight. It's interesting because both of our ladies who are speaking tonight, so we have Amy Fromm sharing her iStory and Kim Mason training, reached out to me today because they're both under the weather and they both did to know if they'd make it on the call, and they both took naps and they're both here. So I just wanted to say thank you to you guys for, digging deep and getting on. If you couldn't be here, we would have supported and rallied around you, but we're glad you were able to join us tonight. So without further ado, Amy Fromm, can you unmute yourself?
Yep.
Okay, Amy, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, so my name is Amy Fromm, and I'm a registered dietitian with a master's degree in nutrition, and I own my own practice in Pittsford, New York. Around Christmas time of 2017, my fiance came home from work and said that he was interested in doing a 30-day cleanse with his coworker. She said she had a group of people doing it, so he was kind of interested to lose a little weight. She said it worked great. Naturally, as a dietitian, I have a background in evidence-based nutrition, so I was really skeptical and said, what kind of a cleanse is this? And he said, well, I really want to try it, so let me get you the information. I said, yeah, you have to give me the information so that I can research it and look it up and figure out if the ingredients are okay and safe and everything. And so he kept asking me, are you researching it? Are you doing this? Can we do it? Should I order it? And this was, I would say, a little bit before New Year's. We were traveling to New York City, and he's like, can I order it? I'll be home when we get there. And I took about 2 weeks and did research on the products and determined that everything was really legitimately healthy. It was all pure, beneficial, safe for our use. So I said, okay, there's a 30 or a 45-day money-back guarantee. So what do we have to lose if we try this? And we ordered the products. So after the 30 days, the results that we both saw were amazing. He lost about 30 pounds, and I actually didn't do it to lose any weight, but I lost about 16 pounds. And I knew that we were going to keep using the products because I really loved them. They made us feel great. We had so much more energy. We slept better at night. We just felt like different people. So I contacted Kathy, who was my sponsor. Once I signed up as a consultant, she's the one that works with Eric and got him on this. And I asked her, what do you have to do to become a consultant? What are the benefits? And I kind of knew that I wasn't great at selling anything, but I said, I love the products, and family was already asking us how we looked so great right after Christmas. So I signed up. I said, I love the mission. I love the ingredient policy. I love how Arbonne cuts out 2,000 different ingredients that they don't want to accept. And in the United States, that's 11 ingredients. And as a dietitian, that was really important to me because I know how bad the chemicals can be for your body, both inside and out. And I signed up, and I ended up actually getting 6 of my family members to do it right away. And I had 2 family members that were really hesitant, but they ended up really falling in love with the products, and they reorder all the time. So within a week of becoming an independent consultant, I actually attended GTC in Las Vegas. I really didn't know if I could go due to my job, but I really wasn't in a happy place where I was with my job, and I knew that I needed something to take me somewhere else, to give me the opportunity to be what I wanted to be. So I had no idea what I was doing. And when I left the Global Training Conference for Arbonne in Las Vegas, I felt overwhelmed by the possibilities that the company could offer me. I was ready to help people become their best selves and share the amazing opportunity that I had felt changed our lives with someone else. And now Arbonne's actually given me the ability to leave that awful job that I didn't love. And I now work in a private practice. And I love that as long as I continue to be consistent and hardworking, as I've always been and was raised to be, I can continue to earn an income where there's no cap on my salary. I've worked at many jobs where I was carrying the workload of upper management with the paycheck of an entry level, while upper management was getting the big paycheck and not providing any support or assistance. And now I have the option to actually do that for myself. If I want to work hard and I want to do really well in this company, then I can make that happen. And I love that Arbonne allows me to reach more people than I would reach in a normal day in my private practice, because there's only so many hours in a day. So I'm really excited for what the future has to bring for me with Arbonne, and I'm glad that I got to share this with everyone.
Thank you, Amy. I'm glad you got to share it with everyone too. I'm glad you were able to feel good enough to get on the call. I love how you just said, you know, if I'm hardworking and consistent, like I've always been at everything else I've ever done, I can take this to the top, and you can. So thank you for sharing. Go ahead and mute yourself. And next I ask Kim Mason to unmute yourself, where Kim's going to start this month off with our new book. Kim, do you have it sitting there by any chance?
Of course I do.
Of course she does. Introduce it for us.
All right. So I am going to be sharing about how to win friends and influence people in the digital age. And this is based on the original book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. I know it's backwards, sorry, by Dale Carnegie. And so I'm going to share a little bit. I had read that book, the original book, a couple years ago. And let me just see. And I loved it. And what I love about it is that these principles are so very true today. And what is wonderful about this book is the associates of the Carnegie Institution have really taken these principles that are true and they apply them to life today in the digital age. And so I was a little bit interested in the book. It shares a little bit about Dale Carnegie, but I wanted to show a little bit about who Dale Carnegie is. And so he wrote the book, obviously, How to Win Friends and Influence Others. And this is the top-selling self-help book of all time. And I know in the book they describe that some of the self-help books of this day, Dale Carnegie would not endorse. It's more like soul help. He kind of talked about soul help. And this was first published in 1936. So this was a long time ago. He died in 1955. And Dale Carnegie, he was born into poverty. His family they were farmers, and he was a traveling salesperson. And what he found is he wasn't very strong physically, but he could win people and have influence based on his public speaking. And so he started to share this with people, and he was looking for a course. He wanted to share with people, how can you make an impact? How can you build influence? And when he did that, he looked around and he found that most successful business people in any given profession were not those with the most technical know-how, but rather those with the best people skills. People skills are so important, and they're important for our business. They're important for our life. And I think that sometimes we think that, oh, that's of the past because we have everything with the technology. But this is even more important now in this day and age. So when Dale Carnegie looked for a textbook to really teach people how you can do this, he couldn't find it. So he created it. And this makes me think of kind of what Arbonne does. And Carnegie found that there was a blank space and he filled it. Arbonne has found the same thing, and we can do the same thing, where when we find there's a blank space, there's a need, we can fill it with our amazing business opportunity and our amazing products. So today, this book is so relevant and so powerful, and I think even more than when Dale Carnegie wrote this, these principles are so very important. So the original book, here were the titles for How to Win Friends and Influence People. So he talked about techniques for handling people, and there's different short chapters. 6 ways to make people like you. win people to your way of thinking, and then be a leader, how to change people without giving offense or arousing resentment. These principles are all throughout this book. And what the associates have done is they really have talked about why this is important, but they never change the basic premise. So I'm going to start with one of his quotes was, dealing with people is probably the biggest problem you face. And I know some days it feels like people can be a big problem, but this also, I'm also thinking it as dealing with people is probably the biggest blessing that you'll face. And in the fact that people are unpredictable. We can control so many things in our life, but you can't control people. You can't control how they're going to think, how they're going to respond, but we can. And using some of these principles, I think it can turn some people in our life from a problem into a blessing. So he said that in 1936, which I think is pretty amazing to think that almost 100 years later, this is still true. And it's even more relevant when you think about there have been major changes in how we communicate. When Carnegie wrote this, they had telegraphs. The number of people that you could interact with, you had to do it face-to-face, or you sent telegraphs that were limited. Now, in the click of a button, you can reach people around the world instantaneously. There's different ways, there's different media, and we can go beyond borders. Time, different industry. There are opportunities. I think about when you look at Instagram, you can interact with people that don't even speak your language. And so knowing these principles is really, really important because the number of people that you can influence has dramatically increased. And also with that, on the flip side, the potential for harm of relationship has increased exponentially. You can send a text, and without text, you've taken out all body language and emotion. And so it's very hard to read that. And I don't know about any of you, but I have to sometimes read a text and kind of step away from it and realize maybe I'm reading this in a different tone. That's kind of why I like Boxer, because at least there's voice. And then we have things like this where we can see people face to face. So there is no such thing as a neutral exchange. You leave someone either feeling a little better or a little worse. So this is true when you think from the moment you wake up and you talk to your family, and you can either make them feel a little bit better or a little bit worse. When you go and interact with people in your workplace, every time you have a touch point with somebody, you have the potential to make it be positive for them or negative. And that I think is super powerful because that is so important in the relationships that we have, in the people that we're interacting with, in the business that we're building, the team that we're growing. We have the opportunity to bless others. So a lot of what people are looking for in this day and age is, even though we have instant access, people are looking for authentic connection. So that's the winning friends. People want to connect, and meaningful progressive impact. That's how we influence others. And so basically what Dale Carnegie says, and I think is so true, is that we as humans are hardwired for a desire for honest communication and to be understood. We are looking to communicate not in a superficial, false way, but that honest communication and authentic connection. We're looking to connect with people, to be known, to be accepted, to be valued. I think if we look at a lot of our fears, at least for me personally, a lot of my fears stem from wanting to be known and accepted and valued, and of being fearful of that. And beyond that, for successful collaboration, for working together in a meaningful way. And so that's how we gain authentic connection and meaningful progressive impact. And so I was just looking at who are people that we either follow, that I follow, we've talked about in Arbonne, who have a lot of influence. So I looked at Peyton Schreiber. I don't know if I said her last name correct. And she's all over Instagram. She's an ENVP. And her post right here, she's talking. She puts a lot of things out there, and she's talking about, let's be real. She's talking about her struggles. There are 2,728 likes on this, just this one post. And what she's sharing is some of her struggles, how she was afraid that she didn't fit in, how she struggled with her weight, and how she viewed herself. People are desperate for that, because as much as we can look to Hollywood and see all of these perfect faces, we know that that's not the reality of the day in, day out. So people are drawn to that. I look at another person that we follow, that Avery McCain, or Honeycutt. And this one, oh my gosh, she is just putting it out there. And a lot of times on her Instagram, she's got these great put together pieces, and she's living her best life. But this is talking about behind the highlight reel. And I saw this and I was drawn to this. 11,466 likes in 5 days ago. People are desperate for that. They want to know that there are other people like them, and that's being authentic. Another person that is followed by many is Rachel Hollis. And this has 43,500 likes, and saying you are beautiful and worthy of good things. And if you don't believe that, nobody will. She is pouring into people because they want to be accepted. And a lot of people are growing in popularity because they're putting things out there that are positive, that are meeting these essential needs that Dale Carnegie talked about in the 30s. So I'm going to start out. This is kind of the beginning of the book. There's so much in here. I love it. And the first part is the essentials for engagement. So how do you engage with others? And these are the first chapters: bury your boomerangs, affirm what's good, and connect with core desires. So a boomerang, I remember I had one when I was a kid, and it was, you throw it and it comes back to you. And any critical comment that you put out there acts like an invisible boomerang, and they're going to return to you, and they're going to hit you in the head or the butt or wherever. When you put out negativity, it will come back to you. And it's crazy how in this digital age, we are so connected, and sometimes, I'll look on Facebook and think, oh, how does this person know this other person? And if you're putting something out there that's negative, somehow it's going to get back to you. So one thing that is so important is to focus on the positive. When you are talking to others face to face, keep it positive. Focus on what is good, not in an inauthentic way, but looking at how you can turn situations into more of a positive approach. When you are posting on anything online, always keep it positive. And I don't know about you, but when reading different things on Facebook and other social media, if somebody is complaining, it's really hard to take. And one thing that I am reminded of time and time again is people are always watching. There are people that have asked me, oh, how was Vegas? How is Arbonne going? I've never talked to them about it. I haven't even seen them, but I saw that you did this. People are always watching. So focus on the positive, because that's what you're going to attract. Also, one thing that he said was that the people most widely respected within industries, companies, and groups of friends are those who are clear in their own viewpoints. So they know what they believe, but they are also compassionate with those others who might have a different viewpoint. So knowing what you know and believing it, and then being compassionate. And when I think of that as applied to Arbonne, I think of the 30 days where we can be very clear in our own viewpoints. What is the best way to achieve health? What is the best program? Obviously, I believe Arbonne is, and I think many people have joined Arbonne because of our 30-day program, and we've seen the ingredient policy, we've seen how it works. But we are also charged with being compassionate with those whose minds or behavior we want to influence. So if we want somebody to join us in 30 days, we have to remember change is hard. Choosing to change is hard. I remember talking to somebody and saying, why don't people want to come to a healthy happy hour? It's so much fun. Why aren't they coming and flocking? Because if they come to a healthy happy hour, they might need to make a change. And that change will take them out of their comfort zone. And I think that understanding how hard it can be allows us to be compassionate. It can be overwhelming. It's also a journey. And one thing that my WISE upline has said to me before is, remember where you started, because we are all on a journey. And when I first learned about Arbonne, I had no idea about ingredients. I didn't look at them. I just looked at the front of the label. There are people who truly believe that packaged food is good for them because that's what the label says. They are on a different part of the journey, and we have to have compassion for where we've come from. And we all start from different points. So just remember that as we are sharing, I think so many times on social media, there are a lot of companies out there, and we want to be set apart. So we can be assured that we have the greatest products. We are number one from the inside out. We can stand by that all day long, but we also need to show compassion for people who are either not ready to hear it or need to be informed or are still watching us, because there are so many people who are watching. There are so many companies out there, and it's almost not if you're going to be in network marketing, but what company you're going to be with. And there's a lot of people who like to jump. There's a lot of frogs out there, and they're watching to see, are you going to jump? And as they watch you and they see, look at how gracious this person is. This guy, this girl is so gracious, even though they understand their viewpoint, that is going to attract more people. So also another thing is to affirm what is good. We all have a innate, unquenchable desire to know we are valued, to know that we matter. Yet affirming this in each other is among the most challenging things to do in our day and age. So if you think about that, this is an innate, unquenchable. That means, I can't say it, but you have to keep putting it in. You have to keep filling this up. And if you have kids, you know that they need to be filled up all of the time, because we need to know that we are valued and that we matter. And so in this day and age, it is so easy to put an opinion out there, move on, fast pace. You see a need, and affirming what is good, that what is value is so important. And sometimes it can just take a couple seconds. A later chapter, it talks about smiling. All you have to do is smile and say somebody's name and show them that you're thinking of them. How did this go? That means a lot. I'll tell you, I felt like garbage at the end of my school day. I was overheated and overtired, and I was walking out of the building, and a friend saw me and she asked if I was okay, and I just shook my head because I didn't want to puke. She texted me half an hour later. That meant a lot to me because she saw that there was a need and she cared enough to ask. She didn't have to drive over and give me chicken soup. A text can be affirming what is good. It can take 30 seconds, but it can mean the world for some people. So affirmation. This, and Dale Carnegie talks a lot about affirmation versus flattery. When you flatter somebody, you're trying to get something. You're trying to meet your own agenda. But affirmation requires seeing someone well enough to sense what to affirm. So seeing what they value. Knowing somebody well enough to be aware of what really matters. So the things that I care about and I'm passionate about, it's not true for everybody. And if I only show affirmation through my own love language or show the values that I put in what I value, it's not going to do the same thing. But if you take time to get to know somebody and watch them and see what matters to them, then you can affirm what matters to them. And in this day and age, it's great because you can find out what people care about by looking at their social media. People will put what they care about on there. So competition for our attention is constant. Communication is often a blur. We have bytes. We have so much information. So you need to take time to set yourself apart. When you are putting information out there, when you are reaching out to people, when you want to share about the business, you need to show that you are trustworthy, that you care about others, and that you are different than everybody else out there. And so when you appeal to the good in others, you can turn situations around. And sometimes this means dealing with problems and talking about them. You know, sometimes you can see it on social media where people will have strong opinions and go after it. That's not what this is talking about. But it's addressing things respectfully, dignified, and working towards reconciliation, talking about that. When you affirm somebody as a person and as a fellow human being, then you can work through things, even for people who are afraid of conflict and don't like it, because I know, because I'm one of those. But I'm learning to deal with things and how powerful that can truly be. And connecting with core desires. So when you want to influence people, it's not a matter of outsmarting them. It's a matter of discerning what they truly want and offering it to them in a mutually beneficial package. So listen first. There's so many books that talk about listening. John Maxwell is huge on this. And if you listen and look somebody in the eye, if you're on Zoom, you can still look them in the eye and hear what they're saying. We always talk about the dreams, desires, and discontents. And this is very different than vomiting our bond, especially when we're excited, because there's so many new things and we want to share them that sometimes people can become overwhelmed because we have thrown a lot of information out. And I feel like one thing I've been convicted of lately is realizing a lot of times I talk at people. Ask my husband, it's true. I talk about people. I talk not about people, at people. I'm sharing information, and when you're passionate about something, but something that is so powerful and so needed in communication is to stop and listen. And when you listen, then you truly connect. So do some research. Look at what people care about. Look at what they're talking about and really affirm that in them. And you can say, hey, I saw this post. How was this? People's kids, people's family, people's passions will show up. So what? So how can this impact our lives and our businesses? The first thing to remember is people are desiring connections. We are in a belly-to-belly industry. There's a lot of great things that we can do on social media, but we still have to connect. I know that even Avery McCain does a lot of her work on Instagram, but if somebody wants to sign up, she says, call me. That is powerful because we have to connect to people. You cannot build relationship one text at a time without truly connecting. Following these principles, and this will go on later in the book, will really help. Just smile. Even if you're talking to somebody on the phone, just smile, because that will show up in your tone. And another thing is slow down. Think before you act. I tell my students that all of the time. Listen more. Be genuinely you. Don't try to be fake. And then watch your tongue. And if it's not nice, don't say it. And don't type it, really, because that stays forever. So this is even more relevant than today. And what Dale Carnegie says is the person who has the technical knowledge plus the ability to express ideas, to assume leadership, and to arouse enthusiasm among people, that person is headed for higher earning power. And that is beautiful in our business and in life.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You cannot even tell you were under the weather one bit. So thank you for delivering it. And I love how, I'm just checking the time. I love how, it's all about communication.
Yeah.
That's what you just talked about, was all about communicating and connecting. And so that's what we do. That's what we get to do. That's amazing. So thank you, thank you, thank you. We have Marie and Andrew who are going to be sharing on the Facebook Live. So please jump onto that next. If you don't know how to see that, make sure to connect with your upline so we can make sure you're part of the Facebook Live group. And then we're meeting back on Zoom, but on Carlita's number at 9:30, which is 769-105-8763. So thank you all for being on tonight. Have a good night. Thank you so much, Kim.
Mom.